Welcome to Hope for Everybody, a channel that exists to highlight people and places that are all about providing hope to people in need. Check out today's episode.
Keary Atkinson, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Absolutely.
So I'm Chandler with Hope for Everybody again, and we're here with Keary Atkinson. And Keary, the purpose of Hope for Everybody is we are highlighting organizations in the community and how they give hope for everybody. So tell us about Kinship Place. How'd you get involved? What's your background education? How'd you get involved? And what does Kinship Place do for the community?
What do we do for the community? So, as you said, my name is Keary Atkinson. I am the administrator of Kinship Place. We are a nonprofit organization that contracts with Health and Human Services, and we take care of the individuals in our communities that suffer with severe mental illness. So we offer about 16 different services, one including residential services. So in a nutshell, that's what Kinship Place, that's our everyday work, is connecting those individuals with the services that supports that contract that we have with the state.
Now, I know you're trying to be brief, but let's talk about that wraparound because this is golden. Right?
Okay.
So to talk about that wraparound, what exactly is it that your organization does for an individual? How do they get in your program? Because we want our viewers to know, because this is going to go on social media.
Okay.
You're going to share it on your social media. Your phone's going to blow up.
Okay.
Maybe. But we want people to know what it is you're doing and what that looks like. So how does somebody get in your organization?
Okay.
And what do the actual wraparound services that the Health and Human Services provide help those people with?
Okay. So one of the worst things about our program is that no one hardly knows about it. So it's a new program. It's only, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years old. And so we haven't gotten the word out yet. And so it is a program that is funded through Medicaid. It's regulated through Health and Human Services. And it is facilitated through the local mental health authority. So here in Tarrant County, that would be MHMR of Tarrant County. So we identify the potential participant that meets the criteria for the program, which we are targeting the populations of individuals with severe mental illnesses that are in and out of jail, in and out of the emergency room, or in and out of the state hospital because of unmanaged or undermanaged or undiagnosed, what have you, mental illness. And so those individuals are identified through the discharge planners at the hospitals or family members or, the local mental health authority themselves, any way that we could get the word out. So,
but one of the requirements is they have to be on Medicaid, right?
They have to have an active Medicaid policy unless they are in the state hospital. There's a little bit of, the rules are a little different in the state hospital. But here in the community, it would be, yes, they have to have an active Medicaid policy.
But if they're on Medicaid and they meet the other criteria for coming into your program, then what are those wraparound services that the state helps with?
So the wraparound services are, there's about 16 of them, but the 6 that are service providers, meaning these professionals would come out to the homes of these individuals that are in the program and offer their services, or that's how we get through the services. So the service providers are a peer support specialist, which is an individual that has lived experience, that have gone through some of those same issues that the participant would, but from the angle of, I understand what you're going through, I've been through it, and I've gotten on the other side of it. The psychosocial specialist, kind of the same thing, but doesn't necessarily have to have lived experience. But this is the person that essentially connects that participant's mental illness with social graces. We have the employment specialist, which is kind of cool. It's a dual role. So the employment specialist would help that individual find a job or a volunteer opportunity helping them with resumes or, clothing or interviewing skills or something like that. But they also stick around once that person is employed to help them overcome the obstacles to keep that opportunity intact. So that's a beautiful, that's unheard of. But we also have the employment specialist. There is the trauma therapist comes out. The substance abuse counselor comes out. Yeah, it's amazing. The substance abuse counselor can be not only for substance abuse, but any type of compulsive behaviors, whether it be addiction to food or, pica, or shopping, anything like that. And it can be a past issue that person has overcome, many years ago, or a current. So any history at all of those type of issues, they can have that counselor to come out with them and work with them. We also have the nurse. So at Kinship Place, each participant gets 2 nurses. They get a RN and they also get an LVN to come out. And so the LVN only does medication management because that is really a big part of what we do, is managing those medications to assure that they're therapeutic and that we're not missing medications and we're not missing doctor's appointments and those sort of things. But the RN does all the disease process management and the LVN does the medication management.
Wow.
We also have the recovery manager. The recovery manager does very, very, very intense case management work, 24 hours, 7 days a week case management work. And so they do all of the care coordination. They do all of the making sure that us as provider agencies are meeting the requirements and the participant is getting the services that the state is essentially paying for them to get, that we're in compliance with that contract, and that these goals for the participant are moving forward. But the recovery manager also does they do everything. They do all of the, like I mentioned, the care coordination. They do the crisis management. So each individual has a crisis plan. What are those things that trigger you? What are those things that soothe you? What are those things we need to look out for so that it is amazing, so that we're preventing these crises opposed to being so reactive to, the situation. And so they also get the recovery manager. It's almost like Chandler, like a valet or like a VIP type person, just there to handle any kind of issue that comes up, no matter how big or no matter how small. And so, I love that word that you use, the wraparound services, because it's almost like a blanket of service providers that come to that individual to help them keep that mental illness at bay. So also with this program, it's a statewide program. So once that participant gets in the program, they're in it for the rest of their lives, as long as they want it, as long as they'll accept the help, and as long as they have their active Medicaid policy. But if they relocate or they move, their program goes with them. So
and this program also helps provide for the cost of housing, right? It provides for the cost of their housing, provides for the cost of their food, all these wraparound services.
Absolutely.
Everything. Complete.
Wow. And so residential services. So there are 3 residential options. The first is it's called host home, which means the participant lives with a family member or friend that takes care of them, and the provider agency pays that person to care for that participant. Or supported home living, meaning that person lives in their own home, their own apartment, and they still get those wraparound services. Now, I don't pay them to do that, but they still get those wraparound services And then there's lastly supervised living. It's more like a group home setting, but supervised meaning there's always a trained caregiver there on site. There's a 4-to-1 ratio. So for every 4 participants, there's one caregiver. We are to have no gaps in the coverage. The caregiver is our first defense. That's the person that's there most of the time that has the closest insight to these participants and what's going on. So they would be kind of like the first point of contact. Hey, what's going on? What are you noticing? What are you seeing? Are there anything that we need to be aware of that participant cannot communicate themselves? But they also do all of the medication management, the documenting that we've given the medications, management of the home itself. Yeah.
If you're liking this content, don't miss out on future episodes. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Now back to the show.
It's incredible. Keary, tell us about your background in education and how did you become involved in this? Why did you start Kinship Place?
Okay. How much time do you have, Chandler?
Be brief, but go ahead.
Be brief. So I am, okay, so let's go through the journey. So for a very long time, for many, many years, my family have had homes in the community for same population, but there's not much support out there, and so so we had these group homes, and we were able to secure a contract with the local mental health authority. It was one of the first ones, and this has been many moons ago, but one of the first contracts to receive those individuals and offer them housing from the state hospital. And so MHMR of Tarrant County would pay, I don't remember at this point, but a few months worth of rent for this person and give them a chance to kind of get on their feet and get established. Well, so we had that contract and everything's going great. So I went to the store one day and there was a poster up of, it was a wanted poster. There had been a lady in the neighborhood that had been killed. And so I looked at it and, I shook my head and I went on. Well, lo and behold, the lady, there was a person that lived in one of our homes, and he would go around the neighborhood and offer to rake leaves. And he went to a lady's home, and she had paid him to do this before. But this particular time, she refused it. She was on the phone with her sister, and she said, no, I don't need my leaves raked at this time. He came back later, and he killed her, and he stole things out of her home after that. And she was a school teacher, and she had 2 small kids, and her children found her the next morning. So when that happened, Chandler, it changed me as a person. That's not why we went into this business. That is not what we're doing. It just really affected me, probably more than anything else had to in that point in my life. So I tucked tail and I told my family, you all can have this. I am going to nursing school. I cannot deal with this. It is too much, And I did that. I went to nursing school.
Became an RN, right?
I became an RN, and previously I'd already graduated from. Graduate school. I got an MBA before. I'd got an MBA before.
Where?
From A&M, Texas A&M.
There you go, Aggie.
Yep. Aggies had it, and actually that's how we initially got the contract. I was doing a project for school. We were to write a proposal, and my proposal was to propose to the local mental health authority to contract with us. So I turned it in as my project, but I also took it to MHMR to, partner with us. And lo and behold, they accepted the offer. So fast forward, I went on to nursing school, and this whole time, my family still has these group homes and all this, and I went through my nursing journey. I started out in neuro ICU straight out of nursing school. And so that's where I really, Chandler, learned really learned how to critically think and think in a way that's going to save a life or prevent that. These were some really, really sick people that we were taking care of. So learning how to critically think is where, coming straight out of nursing school, is where I learned, or where I picked it up. So from there, I went on to do clinical marketing at one of the biggest rehab hospitals in the United States. And so there I learned how to essentially get business, get heads in the bed. And up until that point, it didn't quite come together for me why I would go from an MBA to a nursing degree. It's kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum. But when I heard about the home community-based program that we service now, it made perfect sense to me. That's why God, that's the journey that he sent me down. So now the business part, being the administrator of this program and having to conduct business versus the clinical part, we really are dealing with some individuals that are sick, because this program is for individuals with severe mental illnesses, but there's no account for their physical health. That's not even a question that's asked about physical health. Mm-hmm. So we get some individuals that are mentally and physically ill. Yeah. But back to the story. So I went on to nursing school, and when I heard about this program, immediately I thought to myself, I told God, this is it. This is my opportunity to, come as close as I possibly can come to making it up to those kids that lost their mother, and that woman that lost her life to that individual that was in the neighborhood that was psychotic. It was his psychosis is what the problem was. And so when I heard about the program, I just thought that's it. That's my opportunity, hands down. That's the purpose that I was put here to walk in. And so that's my why. And that's how Kinship Place, it's a long journey, but that's how we got to where we are now. So now with this program, though, there's all the bells and whistles to really help that individual and manage that psychosis and move that person forward in the community, opposed to giving them a bed, but I really don't have the resources or the support to do much else. And then that person either goes on to victimize someone in the community, or that person themselves are victimized because they're a protected class of people and vulnerable people. And so that's our why.
So what I love about that story, Keary, I was just telling my wife yesterday, is I hear a similar theme to my own story, in that one of the most difficult times in your life led to one of the greatest gifts, that now you're able to serve and help others because of the tragedy that you endured.
Absolutely. With your family and absolutely. Everything. And on the level that will really have a huge impact. And not that the residential services alone does not, but when you talk about all the unique package that this program brings, with all the unique service providers, the wraparound services, and the fact that person does not lose their benefit, because really the population that we serve are transient. They move around a lot, so for them not to lose those services and disconnect with the care that they need is so very important. And so I'm just so grateful to Health and Human Services for, creating this brilliant program, putting those things together, the legislature approving the money, to extend to these individuals with severe mental illnesses.
Well, on behalf of Hope for Everybody, we're grateful to you also
thank you
for doing what you do.
I appreciate
that. We serve a segment of the population too that's would rather people not serve, right?
Well, Chandler, and that is the one thing. Yep, it is. That is the one thing about mental illness, though. There's no separating from it,
Yeah.
from the poor to the rich, the big, the tall, the small, it doesn't matter. Mental illness is becoming more and more threaded throughout our existence. Part of it is, we live very stressful lives. Americans, we live very stressful lives. And so, mental health issues are only getting more intense, and more often. So we work with a lot of other organizations, and they do what they specialize in, and we do what we specialize in, and that is helping that individual manage their mental health.
It's just awesome. So the Kinship Place, it is a nonprofit in
It
and
is
of
a
itself. It is a nonprofit organization.
It is a
correct?
nonprofit. It is
That's
a
awesome.
nonprofit. We have had our nonprofit since 2014. 2014.
What would you say as a nonprofit, as someone who operates a nonprofit? Now, we both know we could use more money. But aside from raising money,
Right.
what would you say as a nonprofit is your greatest challenge in operating that nonprofit? Or what would you say are some of the things that have been the most difficult for you?
Yeah. Hands down, one of the most is advocating for our participant and educating individuals and, the systems that psychosis takes on a whole personality in itself. And so if we're not able to recognize and appreciate that, then we are chasing a rabbit. And so we have a revolving door in and out of jail. We have a revolving door in and out of that emergency room and other places that really, really weigh down on Medicaid.
Yeah. One of the challenges that I found, Keary, and why we're so grateful for you, because Fred introduced us, of course.
He did.
But if he hadn't done that, we didn't know you existed.
Right.
So one of the greatest challenges that we've faced is just the lack of community within the nonprofit community.
Absolutely.
We don't know each other.
Absolutely.
We don't know each other exists.
Absolutely.
You've probably had people that we could have helped come your way, and you didn't know we were there.
Yeah.
And we have people right now in our organization that you're coming alongside, and you're going to bring the benefits of those programs to our people. We didn't know you existed. And yet you're providing so many value-added services through this Health and Human Services program.
Right.
So that value of knowing that you exist and knowing that we exist, that's extremely beneficial to both of us. Wouldn't you agree?
Chandler, that's amazing, because we have not had a chance to have this conversation, but it is true. What you said, it's vice versa. So we have individuals that we do a very good job at managing their mental health, managing their psychosis in that way, but we don't expertise in the place that you do, in the population of individuals that you help. But that doesn't mean that that need for them
Is any less?
is any less.
They need it too.
Although we're helping them with so many other things.
Yeah.
So you're 100% correct. So much of our day-to-day work is just in the grind of taking that daily care of an individual, making sure that we're not missing doctor's appointments, making sure that everyone is clean and has clothes and nutrition and medicine. All this business is very easy to not connect with the world around us, when we really need to do more of that. So if there were a platform that made those connections easier for us, absolutely, 100%, we would get on board with that.
As the founder of a nonprofit, I know that one of the things that I've encountered is since I don't know what I don't know, right? I don't know what's out there because I don't know it.
Correct.
I'll create it, and then I'll find out somebody else is already doing this. That's almost the situation with you. I mean, I'm having to create, so I bring in a case manager, and I bring in this person, and I bring in this person, and You mean there's a program that does all this? I mean, I didn't know that existed.
Right.
And so have you found that in your nonprofit where you've tried to do something because you just didn't know somebody else was doing it?
Absolutely. Or I'm trying to do things myself that I really could contract with someone else to do.
There you go.
Yeah. So, for example, we one of our services is transportation. If whatever the goal is for that individual, the agency, Kinship Place, we're responsible for making sure that person gets there. So if one of their goals is to reconnect with their families, then we are to get them to their family reunion and back home. And so that is a service that we don't necessarily have to do ourselves. We don't necessarily have to. Why not partner with another agency or another organization to provide this service if that's what they specialize in, so that we can get back to work.
You're a nonprofit out there that specializes in transportation.
Reach out to me.
Information.
That's
as soon
right.
as this video's over, follow her on their website. Reach out to her because that's a good connection, right?
Yep.
So another problem within the nonprofit sector we found is fraud, waste, and abuse, and that's a term in the medical and insurance industry, and things like that. But you understand what I'm saying? I mean, there are people who just go from one nonprofit to the next. They'll go from this nonprofit to that nonprofit to this nonprofit, and they just kind of use and abuse, and they never really are changing their lives or doing anything constructive that's getting them in a better position. Now, in some cases, when they're dealing with the mental health issues and the psychosis and things, it may not be possible necessarily for them to make some of those changes. But we also deal with those that could. And so have you seen fraud, waste, and abuse as being a particular problem in your organization, where not you personally, your organization, but where other people have kind of taken advantage of your organization? Or
100%. 100%.
Give us an example of maybe one way.
Let's say from the individual or from another organization?
Either. Another organization or an individual. Give me an example of one way that fraud, waste, and abuse hurts your organization.
So recently, we allowed a individual to come live with us, and it was about the middle of the month when this individual came. And so I know as the administrator, when it gets to be about the middle of the month, money is gone. So we allowed that person to come with the understanding that we would take the steps that we needed to take to get them on track. Well, when it came to the first of the next month, that person took off and called about a week later and said that they had given the rent money to another organization. I didn't believe it when I heard that story. But at this point, that person has become my responsibility. And that happens quite often, where the population that we have, because there's so much vulnerability there's manipulation, but there's also individuals that fall victim to this. We have one individual, this is a good example. We have one individual that came from an organization that was paying his rent until his benefits started. It took them too long to start his benefits. And so now we've been caring for him for probably the last year. And that agency dropped him. So now we've kind of taken on a forced charity, because we're in the place of residential services, not finding ways to put people out when he otherwise have not done anything that was within his control. And so, the agreement was, you pay this guy's rent until we can get the benefits started, and then we'll take it from there. But when it got to be too much for them, and I had no recourse, so.
Yeah.
If you're liking this content, don't miss out on future episodes. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Now back to the show.
So you gave us an example of fraud from an individual, and then you gave us an example from a way that kind of suffered from some abuse of an organization.
Right.
And we've certainly had those too, where we'll have a family that will place their loved one with us, and they'll tell us, oh, they'll be able to go to work, they'll be able to get a job, they'll be able to support themselves, and it never happens.
Right.
So they paid those first 3 months, thank you very much. But after the 3 months,
Right.
now we're stuck holding the bag with this person that will not support themselves, take care of themselves, get a job. Or they get a job and it's gone the next week, and it's a vicious cycle.
It is, and it feels like a disconnect between the flesh and the spirit. So here you are wanting to really help this person, but now you just have to make a decision now. Okay.
Yeah.
What are we going to do here? And so, it's not a fun place to be in.
No, it's not. We're building a mousetrap. Okay, that's what Hope for Everybody is all about. Is we're building a platform that's going to allow nonprofits to talk to each other. You're going to be able to search for nonprofits that do what you need. Housing, boom, up come a list of nonprofits that help with housing. Food, up come a list of nonprofits that help with food.
Nice.
These kinds of things.
Nice.
There's not a mousetrap out there like that right now. There's Google, of course, but it's not the same. This is going to be a very concentrated setup. If there was a nonprofit, if there was a website out there that would allow you to go out and connect with other nonprofits, have all their information in one place, have their contact information, allow you to interact with those nonprofits, would that be worth something to you?
It would. It would. I mean, the time I spend alone on searching for resources, that time I spend alone, I could be doing something else if I had that information at my fingertips. Yeah, absolutely.
And if that same system gave you some kind of risk-reward rating system on the people that were applying for help, so that you could find out this person was just at this other housing program, that would be worth something to you?
Chandler, oh my goodness, that would save us so much, not just time, but
money,
the resources we pour into that person that really could be going to someone who genuinely needs the help and will do with that help what they're supposed to do with it. Oh my goodness.
So if this website was available, this platform was available, and it was $50 a month, would it be worth it to you?
100%.
That's what it's all about.
100%. Yes.
Keary, we're so excited to be working with Kinship Place at Hope Prison Ministries, and we're excited for what the future holds with our organizations working together. So Keary's come alongside Hope Prison Ministries.
Yes.
She's bringing her expertise, her team of experts, all the support staff around a few men that are in our program that are going to benefit from those services. It is invaluable. If you're watching this and you have people in your organization that you think might qualify for services for Kinship Place, please reach out to Keary Atkinson. We'll be sure to provide her contact information at the end of this video. Please like, subscribe, whatever it is you do. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.